Welcome to That 80s Show. Oh, how they did rejoice when they saw a new episode. And they went, last week, guys, there is such a thing as too much Wham. And at least this week I'm going to listen and it'll be a Wham-free zone. No, Dori, there is no such thing right now.
Nope. As you said a few days ago, we are going to milk this thing till it's dry.
Oh, yes. We are going to grab onto those teets, those Wham teets. We're going to fill up 15-liter jugs.
We are potentially the most annoying people in the world right now because we will talk to anyone who will listen about the Wham docu. Anyone.
It's
people,
one of those.
Even people who don't want to talk about it.
No, even if they didn't bring it up. They're like, would you like fries with that? Yeah, I do think the trajectory of Wham, especially shown in the documentary. But I mean, what a time to be alive, because normally there is not a lot of Wham conversation. There is so much Wham conversation right now, and
I know.
Let's be on it. And we got a friend of the show, Neil Johnson, has sent us content that we just hurriedly inserted in the show because we've got to be covering that. And of course, we're talking about a Wham documentary, and the reviews are in, Dori, right? I went around the internet. I got some of the reviews, okay? So,
because we saw that review before it came out, which was not very positive, which made me a bit nervous about it. But I don't know why I even bothered reading that, because it was a ridiculously unfair review.
So that review is from The Guardian.
The show is worth watching.
Exactly. That review is from The Guardian. It's going to pop up. Another article from The Guardian is going to pop up later. I don't think The Guardian wrote this much about Wham in the 80s. There's like a Wham article a day on The Guardian.
Is it because there are like staff at The Guardian who are closet Wham fans and they're like, this is my chance.
That's it.
This is it.
That's it. It's like, and this is the thing. You and I have never been afraid of our Wham leanings. We in it. We are Wham. Right. There are other people it's not safe. It's not safe to like Wham for other people. Right? And I've got to keep quiet. Like, I know all the words to Wham rap, but I can't. I know all the words to Young Guns. I can't rap to it. Don't worry. We can do it here.
But if I meet a new person and they're like, hey, so what kind of music are you into? And I'll say, I'll say 80s, mostly like alternative and rock stuff, but I love Wham the most.
And they'll always be like, oh no, I don't really like Wham. I'm like, you don't like Wake Me Up Before You Go? Like, okay, I do like that song. I said, you don't think Careless Whisper is one of the greatest songs ever? Oh shit, yeah, I do think that song is actually quite good. You don't think Wham rap like perfectly captures what it was like being a youth in the 80s in the UK? Yeah, when I was a youth in the 80s in the UK, that's exactly what I felt like. And then they know it's fine. It's perfect. So
I have a friend in Australia who messaged me and went, have you watched it yet? And I'm like, what a ridiculous question, because she messaged me like a couple of days ago. And it's like, it's been out for a few days already. Of course I've watched it. And we were kind of having that, very quick WhatsApp exchange during work hours. Well, work hours for me. In Australia, it was probably the middle of the night. Who knows? Anyway, and she was like, what did you think? And all I sent back was, the crying emoji, the proper crying, not the laughing crying, the crying emoji. And she came back and went, oh my God, was it that bad? And I was like, oh, of course not. I was just trying to tell you that I cried a lot in it. Anyway, and then she watched it and came back to me and went, oh my God, I loved that so much. And she's not like the biggest Wham fan. She likes them, she could tolerate them. And she just loved it. So people who are open to giving it a chance, even if you're not a Wham fan, are being pleasantly surprised. And that's all we wanted.
And the people
spread the gospel, the good word. Spread
the good word of Wham, include an exclamation mark. And I think what a lot of people were looking for was the but moment. Every documentary, like behind the music, they always got that, because it's star rising, but there was a deep, dark secret. George's sexuality would rip the band apart, except it didn't, and they just went bigger and bigger and bigger. But George's solo ambitions threatened to tear the band to shreds, except it didn't. So people are like, there is no but moment. And I think that's what a lot of biopics do, a lot of things like this. They want to be trashy, where because Andrew Ridgely, like we spoke last week, is so careful of the George image that he's created and he's been left in charge of. There's none of that. It's just fun, right? With no but moment.
Absolutely.
This is what I want to...
unless you count the but in his jeans during the Faith video.
Well, there is that but. There is that
There's
one.
that moment.
There is... I found a video. I didn't even know about this. And it was an Andrew Ridgeley article I'm going to talk about later, is that on SNL at the time, they would regularly make fun of Wham, okay? And one of the things was George Michael, no matter what happened, would always just stand up and make people look at his butt. Dana Carvey played George Michael. You won't believe who played it, Andrew Ridgeley. God. Dana Carvey was George Michael, and he would just keep getting up and shake.
I have no idea.
Keep shaking his butt. So that's how they saw him, and actually offended him, because he was like, they don't take me as a serious actor. They just see I'm an egotistical guy, good looking, wants to shake my butt. So that's what's happening at SNL. But we get this email. Neil Johnson, friend of the show, from a newsletter that he subscribes to. It is from a guy, I hope I say the name right. He's massive, because I have seen the name before, but I've never had to say it. Bob Lefsetz, right? I think that's how you say it.
Let's go with that.
Okay.
Let's go with it.
He's a podcaster. He's on Sirius XM. He's a music writer. He's huge, right? He's big. I've never had to say his name. Okay. So this is what Neil sent us, and I'm going to take out some key comments of it. This is the article or the blog post that goes out in his newsletter this week. So opening line, watch the Wham documentary. It's fantastic. I like to think that was intentional. Okay.
Of course. Well, I mean, hopefully, right?
Yeah. So he says...
maybe people wouldn't understand that, but we understand that.
No, we get it. We get it. So his words, start off cheesy. I mean the titles, like the Motley Crue movie, a wink, a fabrication, a step away from the real nitty-gritty, but momentarily thereafter, this is a document of an era, the MTV era. Okay, so he's now going, he loved how it just captured that time and place. Times were different. The 60s were about revolution, the 70s licking our wounds and cynicism, and the 80s were about hedonism. Damn right. Refer back, last week's episode, Tony Pike. Further down, and this is something we said earlier, I'm not sure you can find an American or Briton conscious or South African conscious in the 80s who does not know Wake Me Up Before You Go Go. Everybody aware back then could sing the chorus and still can. That's how catchy the number was and still is. That's true, right? Everybody recognizes the song, okay, and probably still knows a few words. Later on, and to see Wham's, this is when he's talking about, so he sets up talking about Band-Aid. And he says, and to see Wham's contemporaries, I got to give it to him. Every time he writes Wham, exclamation mark.
He's a professional.
This is a top class pro. Listen, those of you who don't know, oh God help. Dori, so good at grammar. I'm actually jealous of her. Dori beats ChatGPT at grammar. Okay. I've put something in ChatGPT, got the grammar, Dori fixed it. Still, wasn't good enough for her. Okay? She changed it. So Dori, but it's good. You need that. You need people like that in your life. But our biggest grammar is you got to have the exclamation mark after Wham. It's not Wham. Ron Reynolds said Wham. Okay. Every time he writes it, he writes it. So it says, and to see Wham's contemporaries, especially recording the Band-Aid single, everybody is so young, which we commented on as well. Sting is so dorky. Yes. He is dorky.
He is.
Real curtains. He looks like a Backstreet Boy before Backstreet Boy.
It was his pre-tantric days.
He wasn't doing 15-hour sessions then. So he was not as strong, quite scrawny. Bono is wearing that ridiculous hat. Phil Collins can still play the drums. It's a window into what once was and now no longer exists.
Can we just pause on Phil Collins for a second? Because I feel like we ignore Phil Collins and I don't think he's going to be with us for very long. And I just want to say, those drums, nobody in the world could play drums like that. No one compares, ever. I just want to give props to Phil Collins and say, we don't play him enough.
Okay. And
you won't argue with me now.
No. I will not argue with you. I will not argue with you. And of course, Phil Collins has retired, I think, from public life. Every now and again, you'll see, paparazzi shots of him out and about. My Google alerts tells me. But he's in his 80s, right? Isn't he? I think he's already in his 80s.
I'm not sure, but I know that he is not. His health is not great. So
listen.
let's just enjoy. Let's just give him the props while he's still here, so it's not like a eulogy. Whenever it happens, I just want to say now.
As much as I love Dave Grohl, and Dave Grohl is for me one of the best drummers, because you can't go who's the best. You got one of the best. I'm not one of these. There's a greatest of all time. There's a range of people who are as good as each other for different reasons. But even with that, I will say there is nothing. There is no drum. If an alien arrives and goes, "What is a drum?" I will play him Phil Collins drum intro in the air tonight. They're going back to their planet, going, "Guys, drums," by this guy, and then they play it, and then it says, "Well, it sounds like shit." So, well, you got 8 arms. I was like, "What sounds like shit?" It's not Phil Collins. Okay, so yes, we gave Phil Collins his moment.
Sorry, back to Wham. I just wanted to, make that point.
You got to. Final piece from Bob. I got to say it right. Bob Lefsetz.
Just Bob. First name basis, just Bob. Final piece from
Bob. Bobby Boy. B-Ob. You've got to see this movie. Even if you hate George Michael and Wham, it's a window into what once was. It puts the act and the 80s in context, if this was still the 80s. That's it. You didn't even have to know what they're... There was a time where we didn't actually know more. That's what we knew, and we didn't have to know more, and we were fine with it. We didn't need data and spreadsheets, and we're just simple. We just needed hedonism and little tiny white shorts.
I mean, so my friend in Australia said to me she loved the docu because she didn't know like any of it. But that's because she hasn't read Andrew's book. Now, for those of us professional Wham fans who have read Andrew's book, we didn't learn anything we didn't know from the docu. Like I said last week, it was just amazing to see it visually.
Yeah.
But it does give that cultural context as well. It's not just... I mean, if you watch it properly, it's not just about the band. It is about the time and the place and the era and the iconography of the 80s. There is a bigger picture there, absolutely. Yes.
So, listen, we need votes, guys. We need your votes because you put us here, actually. So, when you do something like this, any podcast that you do, there's a degree that you do it for yourself. That's what you're interested in. But then you start seeing you got a community. You start seeing people like what you do. So you push yourself to be better. You go, it's not just about us talking shit. Now we're talking shit and other people are responding and they're liking and they're following us and they listen to our podcast, which is bizarre. Yeah. We often look at people in the weirdest place. This week, we were in the top 6 podcasts in Ireland in the music category. How does that even work?
I mean, That might have been. I have a few friends in Ireland. Maybe that was no. I mean, no, it's not that.
No. And we have made connections. I know there's a few people on Twitter.
Cindy, our fan friend in Ireland.
It's not that impossible, but it's odd, right? So we got to get better. Yes. We got to get better every week. We got to do a show every week. Sometimes do we really want to talk about the 80s? Yes, that's a stupid question, but we got to do a show every week. Through that work, we've been nominated in the African Podcast and Voiceover Awards as one of the best music podcasts in Africa. Right? Bob Geldof.
The whole continent.
The whole
whole of Africa.
Bob Geldof told you it was a place.
Bob Geldof would be so proud.
So proud. So we want to make sure there's snow in Africa this Christmas. So snow the votes down. Blizzard of votes. So
wow.
Voting is easy. It is free. We're going to put the link, That 80 Show SA Facebook page, or if you don't remember, just search APVA Awards. Click on Vote Now and scroll down to the music category. Click the drop down and we are there. That 80 Show. Give us a vote.
Look for the most 80s image you can see, and that's us.
On the voting site, there's no images. It's just boring.
Oh, really?
Yes,
you're right. I have looked at it.
Yeah.
Okay, so just look for the That 80 Show there.
Yeah. No, I know the site well because I haven't spent loads of time on there voting for myself. It's just
not.
Yeah, just out of interest. But that's it. APVA Awards. We'll put the link, That 80 Show SA Facebook. Just a little vote. One vote. Because it's your fault that we're actually here. Because if it weren't for you, we wouldn't have got better and we wouldn't been one of the best music podcasts in the whole of Africa. It's not my words. That's not my words. That's
No.
science. It's not my words. So
We are being told this. We are not saying it. We are being told.
We're being told. There's judges and everything. It's a real thing. There's other people involved. I listened to their shows. They're good.
Oh, yes. I haven't checked out our competition.
They're good.
I'm assuming they're good.
They're good. Like, we're definitely the best 80 show in there. So technically we're the best 80 show on the continent. I mean, whether we win or not, we are the best 80 show on the continent.
There's no other 80 show in there, right?
No other 80 show on the continent. But no. So technically, so that's enough about us. And now let's talk more about us and the movies that we like to watch. Dori, you know, when you have a movie, you have a movie, right? You tease it for weeks.
Do I have a movie?
Oh boy.
Do I?
Sit back. Let me put on my compression socks because we're going.
This, again, it has happened before. Again, this is definitely a movie that is more you than me. This is a Paulo movie. Okay. So, of course, it is ridiculous and silly. The reason the movie snob in the show, happened to watch this movie is because my husband said to me, I've got a movie for you that you can watch to talk about on your show, because he does that. He keeps his eyes out. And he said, this movie traumatized his childhood. And he had to get it to watch it again to see if it was as hectic and traumatic as he remembers from his childhood.
Mm-hmm.
And then he described the scene specifically. And then he told me the scene before I watched the movie. And I was like, holy Jesus, holy shit, whatever you want to say. And then that scene was as hectic as he described in the movie. But this is one of the lightest, silliest movies ever. So it almost doesn't make sense, but it's about to make sense. So before I tell you anything about what the movie is, I'm going to tell you about the scene. Because maybe, just maybe, Paulo, if you've seen this movie and I tell you this scene, you will know exactly which movie I'm talking about.
Right.
There is. Okay, I'm going to tell you the genre. It is B-grade sci-fi. Really B-grade. To the point where if you shoot a hole in the spaceship, you literally see the polystyrene come out the wall.
Right.
Okay? It's that B-grade. The scene is, I'll get to the story, but let's just say the scene is these men have been captured by these evil people.
Mm-hmm.
And what these evil people do to these men is they castrate them.
Wow.
So what they do is they put them on a conveyor belt.
Is that the point? Is that the point? Is that the scene that reminded you of me? Because I'm not into it.
No, this is the scene that traumatized my husband, that made him make me watch this movie. And these guys are going down a conveyor belt and they're going feet first into this thing. And it's like this giant steel jaw that's going to bite off their junk.
Okay.
You have to actually watch this movie. There's no way to adequately describe it. It is a movie from 1984 called The Ice Pirates. I don't know if you've ever seen it or ever heard of it. I'm going to send you quickly the link to the trailer, which may or may not have that scene in it. I'm actually not sure. But let's give it a little bit of a watch, and then you can tell me what you think.
Well, all right. Let's see what you have. The Ice Pirates.
At last, the space comedy you didn't know you were waiting to see. The Ice Pirates. In the far distant future, in a galaxy where those in the know don't go, real estate is cheap, and they've got great sushi. But there's no water.
You got any water?
It is a time when desperate men will swing from the chandeliers just to get a drink.
Just take a look at that.
Good men like Jason, space pirate and explorer of the cosmos. His chief engineer and fellow rogue Roscoe.
Oh, here, quit that.
And the beautiful Princess Karina. One tiny band who must bust their buns, battling the masters of all the water in the galaxy. The evil Mithradoids, famous for not being nice.
Killing you would be too easy. I have something better in mind.
The Ice Pirates.
Hey, let's party.
See startling special effects. See depravity in zero gravity. See glamour girls from another galaxy. See kung fu robots. And delight in the mysteries of the seventh world. The one place in the universe to get a decent glass of water.
Don't do that.
Insist.
How's it going? It's going great. How's it going with you?
The Ice Pirates.
All those things you heard were true, especially the phrase. There were two things. There were a lot of things jumped out at me. Depravity and zero gravity. When they talk about the special effects, it's like cardboard cutouts. And then, yes, the jaw-chomping castration scene. In case you can't tell, that movie does not take itself seriously. It's Police Academy in space.
No. And that is why I loved it, because it is completely tongue-in-cheek. Almost, I mean, some people have called it a satire of Star Wars.
Yeah.
You could definitely, I mean, Spaceballs is the satire of Star Wars, but it's definitely a satire rip-off type thing of that kind of space genre. But it's from 1984, okay? So it's still relatively early, and it's got Angelica Houston in it, looking, I have to say, not as young as I expected, because I think she's one of those people who's kind of always looked older.
Yeah.
Did you notice our Beast, who we have spoken about recently?
No.
Did you notice him? He has a very, very small role in the movie. Ron Perlman is in this movie.
Okay.
But, I mean, his role is very small. He's like a background character almost, but he's in it. The main character is Robert Ulrich, who, I don't know if you ever watched a series called Spencer for Hire. He was Spencer. He was the main guy. It is the most ridiculous movie. Highly enjoyable. Even my kids sat through the whole thing, which is unusual for something from the 80s. And it is bad in inverted commas, but like I said to you, so bad it's great, because it doesn't take itself seriously at all. It has the funniest, also these robots that are literally look like someone's primary school project, you know. But yeah, I mean, the basic plot is it's the future. There's no water. These guys are literally ice pirates. The movie is called The Ice Pirates.
Yep.
They go around plundering ice off spaceships that have managed to get it from, I don't know actually where the ice comes from. There's probably an ice planet.
Yeah.
I think there is an ice planet. If I remember correctly, there is an ice planet, and they need to get the ice.
It looks like it. The two people who were being sexy with each other were definitely on a different planet that was wet.
Oh, no. That was like a weird kind of simulation on the spaceship that made them feel like they were on this other outdoor place, but it was actually in the spaceship.
Of course.
That scene was actually pretty well done, considering. Okay, now I'm going to say the bad bits about the movie. This movie has not dated well in terms of cancel culture, women's rights, just dodgy as shit. Like we've said before, just take it for the context from where it comes. In those days, it was perfectly acceptable to behave like that, which is crazy when we think about it. But also, don't take this movie so seriously. It's really funny. It has the craziest ending.
Tell us, what happens? How does it end?
So they do say early in the movie, to set it up, that there's a certain way that they travel where they kind of jump forward in time a little bit. So if they have to go into this mode, whatever it is, they kind of jump forward by a few minutes in time.
Okay.
But then, in order to get themselves out of trouble towards the end, they have to go into that mode for a long time. And basically, they jump forward years in time. And it happens all very quickly. It's kind of ridiculous the way it happens. And just before this happens, him and the princess who he kidnapped essentially, but now they're falling for each other. They had just had sex, and literally just had sex. And then they're like, "Oh my God, guys, we've got to escape the wormhole." It wasn't a wormhole, but it was something else. And we have to do this thing where we jump forward in time. So the next scene, she's like heavily pregnant, because obviously she got pregnant, and the next scene she's heavily pregnant. And then the next scene, it's like there's a baby. She's holding a baby. And then all of a sudden, it's a toddler. It's like it just jumps and jumps and jumps, and it goes crazily years and years and years until the main characters are old people, and the kid is completely grown up. And you're thinking, oh my God, this is crazy. But then they do manage to kind of undo it, and they go back to their proper ages. And then they can live their lives happily, knowing that, wow, she's going to have a baby soon, and we're going to be happy together, and it's all going to be cool. So it's fun. It's just a fun movie. It's
From
ridiculous.
the trailer, it looks like Police Academy in space, and they fully go that way. Sounds like it's got everything. It's got Star Wars ripoffs. It's got there is a character that is definitely wearing Eddie Murphy's red jumpsuit, play the jumpsuit.
It's,
Time traveling, the 80s. So naive. They thought we were going to run out of water one day. I mean, how foolish were they? How
ridiculous.
What wild imaginations did they have in the 80s that we'd have to go to other planets to get water? Dori.
watch it for the 2 or 3 scenes where you see Ron Perlman's moustache.
Oh, you didn't say there
He's
was a
in the trailer,
moustache?
by the way. He has a moustache, and it's in the trailer, kind of near the beginning of the trailer. So if you blinked, you missed it. But if you see a weird-looking guy with a moustache, that's Ron Perlman.
Dori, there's a lot of people with moustache. At one point, I thought I saw Tom Selleck in there. Like I definitely saw Tom Selleck in there.
There's actually, Ron Perlman actually looks like Oates from Hall & Oates a little bit.
Oh, really?
In this movie, just a touch. Now that I think about it,
What?
a little bit.
Oh, he's a Hall & Oates. He's out of touch. So, what genre would you put this movie in?
It's satirical sci-fi.
I like that. So,
That being said, I do have to say that in the beginning, I was just thinking this is such a terrible, stupid movie, because I didn't realize at first that it was not taking itself seriously and was being tongue-in-cheek. I thought, oh my God, it's just really bad, but it's taking itself seriously. Once you realize that it's not, then you're like, oh, okay, now I can enjoy it. But if you do see this movie thinking it is proper sci-fi, then you're in trouble.
I wonder, because if you watch that trailer, it's like very clearly that this movie doesn't take it seriously. I wonder if there was a different trailer when if there's multiple trailers and then they just cut one that we know this is what the movie is really like. Like maybe there's a trailer where they try to pretend they were for reals. They're trying to be like Flash Gordon. So we've never,
Just silly.
we don't know what movie the other one's going to recommend. We've never got the same movie. We've got the same genre this week, satirical sci-fi.
Oh, do we?
Oh, yes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, we got
But
this.
you've done Spaceballs. What else is there?
I keep finding them, Dori. It's pretty.
I didn't know that this movie existed until a few days ago. So
When I'm really stuck, I go look at the Raspberry Awards from the 80s, and the Raspberries nominate and award, announce, demonize the worst movies. So I go straight to the 80s section. I go, what is there? What can I watch? And some fantastic movies in there, including my movie, which won the Raspberry for Worst Picture in 1982. It is also satirical sci-fi.
awesome.
It's a movie from 1982, but it's set in the far distant futuristic future of the 90s. Okay.
The 90s.
There is also a conflict going on in made-up countries. I can't remember the one country, but there's definitely a country called Gamibia. And there is Gamibia. Now, you've never seen this movie, but you've seen this movie. The movie I'm going to talk about is a movie called Megaforce, right?
Megaforce.
Megaforce.
Okay.
Now,
I don't think I know it. I don't think I've
you've
seen
never seen this movie, but you've seen this movie because Mike Myers did Awesome Powers, loved this movie. And there are so many times watching this movie that you see Austin Powers, you know, because we see Awesome Powers. Trey Parker and Matt Stone, who did South Park and also did World Police, or Team America World Police, they loved this movie that they based so many things in Team America on this, right? So there's so many homages in Team America to this movie. So they loved it. It's it stars a guy. Now you know him. Not a bad cast. So it stars Barry Bostwick, right? Now Barry Bostwick,
yes,
you know him. A lot of things
I do.
I know him mostly from being Michael J. Fox's boss in Spin City. He was the mayor in Spin City.
Yeah.
But he's very young and he looks like a BG. Okay, exactly identical. Like he looks like Barry Gibb. It's quite unsettling. So,
Okay.
Megaforce is a group of people who, when there is conflict around the world, they kind of like guns for hire, but not mercenaries. They're good mercenaries to come in and resolve conflict, but they've got all these space age technologies, wild technologies. There's a flying bike, there's floating tanks, and they come in and they resolve conflicts with their wild technologies. And that's the story of this, basically. So they come in and they resolve conflicts, and there's crossing and double crossing and twists and plot twists and people cohoosing, just in bed with the main bad guy.
Cohorting?
Coercing.
In cahoots?
In cahoots.
Perhaps?
That's a good 80s word. In cahoots with the bad guy. A lot of nonsense going on. There's no, like, at least in your movie, they were trying to get water. In this movie, they're not really trying to get that. They're just trying to get to the end of this movie, basically. That's what it feels like everyone's trying to get. So it stars Barry Bostwick looking exactly like a BG. It stars Edward Mulhare, who is Michael Knight's boss in Knight Rider. That's where you remember him from.
Oh, I do.
Yeah, so you go, where's that guy from? He's from Knight Rider. It also stars, I've got a new 80s crush, Dori. I had seen her before, a Persis Kambata, a lady named Persis Kambata. She was once a bald-headed alien in a Star Trek movie. And then her next movie, she gets hair and shows up in this movie. A bit of a new 80s crush, Persis Kambata. And that's this movie.
I'm going to Google her if I can. If I can figure out how to spell her name, I will Google her.
You know what you want to do? You know what you want to do first? And anybody, I recommend you do this. Google Barry Bostwick Megaforce. You have got to see the Megaforce that is his whole hair situation. Beard.
Okay.
I mean, bouffant. That's the only way. And I'm going to leave Dori to say what the best part of it is.
Well, the best part is the headband, right?
It's got this fantastic, it's not blue. But
it is not blue.
It's a blue adjacent headband that keeps it, listen, it tries to keep his hair in place, but it's not doing it. He wears the most fantastic jumpsuit.
Wow.
The most fantastic
That is a jumpsuit that hides. My dad would have said that is a jumpsuit that shows his religion. That's what my dad would have said.
Although, I've got to say,
it hides nothing.
No, it hides quite a lot. I would dare say that before this movie, he went with the ball chomping thing from your movie, just to make sure, we don't get a real Megaforce. If
we are not looking at the same pictures. Not.
Maybe I got safe search on. So,
nope.
Another movie, like you say, sci-fi satire, it very much in the time of Star Wars. Anything that was Star Wars, Flash Gordon, anything at the time just really sold. It just really sold. They were like, we got to get in on the space race. Anything with Star Wars, lasers, flying people, aliens, we're going to get it made. So everyone was kind of jumping on the bandwagon. This movie was one of them. Mm-hmm. Years later, Barry Bostwick, again, a movie that this one did not take itself seriously at all. It didn't want you to think it's taking itself seriously. It was 100% comedy. Years later, Barry Bostwick has made a documentary called The Movie No One Wanted to Watch. And no one watched the documentary. It's like,
Oh no.
He really tried to turn it into a bit of a cult thing, but it is such a bad movie. It's not even come back as a cult classic, which I think says everything you need to know about this movie. But it gave me a great clip, a great line for the clip. I've never heard this before. It pops up. I first saw it when I was looking at the movie. I look for the trailer, and it does pop up in the movie. Take a listen to this fantastic line that is definitely going to every one of our promos going forward.
The good guys always win, even in the 80s.
The good guys always win, even in the 80s. I think that's just
Amazing.
so.
That's very cool.
Ice Pirates and Megaforce make it a double play. Make it a double.
It sounds like they would be a fantastic double feature.
They would.
I did send you a picture of Barry on your WhatsApp.
Oh yes.
I don't know if we were looking at the same picture, but I just sent you one.
Oh, but Dori, now we got to let people see. Yeah.
Oh, we'll put it on our Facebook page.
Yeah. I can see why I hid this. It's not mega at all. That's yeah, okay. He's been too close to some ice pirates.
I do think that next time I paint a room in my house, I'm going to say, I want the color that is the headband of Barry Bostwick in Megaforce. That is I cannot tell you what this color is.
I want that.
It is somewhat blue, but not entirely blue.
No, it's not blue. It's not blue. But listen, get in on the jumpsuits. That is, do yourself a favor. Have an evening of space satire, ice pirates, and Megaforce. And when you watch Megaforce, I forgot the best part. Right? I'm going to put this up, that 80 Show SA Facebook page. There is a part, since you're talking about Barry Bostwick in his tight pants, where how well do you know Austin Powers? Have you watched Austin Powers?
I mean, many years ago.
Okay.
So I know it, but not for a long time.
People would have seen the scene, I think it was the second Austin Powers, where they are standing behind a sheet. They're pretending to be doctors because now they're getting caught in Dr. Evil's lair. And now through the shadows, they keep moving things to look very suggestive, right? So they're like,
yes. I remember that scene. I remember that. Yes.
So in what was definitely the inspiration for that scene, they kind of do a similar scene in Megaforce, but they do it in front of this like very purple screen. So you only see the silhouettes of the two characters talking to each other. And Barry Bostwick's hand is in such a place that his very long thumb, so his hand's on his thigh, and his very long thumb looks like something else, but like super intentionally. Like I had to get a screen grab of that, and I'm going to put it up, that 80 Show SA Facebook page. It is that kind of movie. So double header, Ice Pirates,
and can we also remind people, let's remind people, not an 80s movie, but Barry Bostwick probably most famously from the Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Yeah, well, goes without saying. But that's why I didn't say
Where he
it.
also did weird things with his thumbs.
Yeah.
I'm sure.
And also famously in the not very good at all, but very 80s looking, he is super 80s looking in a movie called Deceptions. Have you ever?
Deceptions.
I think Deceptions was a TV miniseries. The only reason I know about it is because I wanted to see what else he was in, and you gotta get a load of what he looked like in Deceptions. I mean, that is 80s thirst trap right there. Barry Bostwick, Deceptions. So
I'm just looking. He was in Doogie Howser?
I'd imagine a lot of people were in Doogie Howser back then. He probably played a doctor. He's very doctor looking.
Sorry, I lie. I just saw Doogie. I did not look closely enough. He's in a series that actually started 2 years ago called Doogie Kamiloha.
You still see him a lot, though. Still see him in a lot of stuff.
Yeah, no, he does pop up. He's aged well. He's always fun. I will check out his other things.
So,
But,
well,
geez,
I think his
I'm very impressed with
jumpsuit.
both our movies this week.
I think his jumpsuit helped you check out a lot of other things. But yes, what's serendipity? Serendipity. So I think it's probably about 15 minutes since we last spoke about Wham. So I feel we're due a check-in.
Yeah, we need to get back to it. Absolutely.
Okay.
What are we doing here?
Andrew Ridgeley's been doing the rounds promoting the documentary, of course. He's also been cycling around Europe. That's what he does this time of year. He gets on a bicycle and cycles around Europe for charity. And he was on, I want to listen to it. I'm going to put it up. It's a feature called Does Rock and Roll Kill Brain Cells, where they quiz an artist from NME. It is an online publication. They quiz artists on their career to see how much they can actually remember. Okay, so in this particular one, they got Andrew Ridgeley. There's a whole bunch. I'm not going to go through everything, but they do ask him about being parodied on Saturday Night Live. So I said that when they parodied them, George Michael was played by Dana Carvey. And they asked Andrew Ridgeley, do you remember which Oscar winner played you? And Dori, I mean, I got a feeling you're going to know the answer because I'm going to go, Dori, who do you think played him? You know, due to no editing whatsoever.
I mean, the only reason I know who played him is because I also read this same article. I went down the Wham rabbit hole, and we clearly went down the same tunnel of the rabbit hole because I read this article. But I was very surprised to hear that it was Tom Hanks. I would not have imagined. I mean, I can't think of anyone who was on Saturday Night Live who resembled Andrew Ridgeley. I mean, not that Dana Carvey resembled George Michael, but Tom Hanks, that feels like a stretch.
We got to find that clip because listen, SNL, you cannot find their clips. They lock everything. As soon as an SNL clip goes up, they take it down. So this is why I have to retire the game to 80s Truths and a Lie. Because if I had said to you, Dori, true or false, Tom Hanks played Andrew Ridgeley. No, that's not. It's ridiculous.
That's ridiculous.
But here's something, and you did know this because we're having the discussion on fellow nominee Barrett, the celeb savant / chart savant, and we're talking about covers of Careless Whisper. And in this, they ask him which girl band covered the single Careless Whisper. And he did remember, and I wish it hadn't happened.
No, he did not.
Did he? He said, sure, they associate. No,
he did not remember.
He did. He said it wasn't correct. It was Bananarama. He did remember. So Bananarama covered Careless Whisper in the 2000s, right? Because that video was fairly new that you sent.
It was from the 2000s.
Now you got to go, hey, I like Bananarama. And you got to go, I like Careless Whisper. Surely that's going to sound great.
And we know that A Banana was with Andrew Ridgeley for a long time.
Exactly.
So obviously this will be great, right?
Exactly. Karen Woodward was dating Andrew Ridgeley for a very long time. And you go, surely it'll be good.
And they were together at the time.
Of making the song?
Yes.
So he knew about this.
But he had wiped it from his brain for obvious reasons.
Yeah, it's not very good.
Because it is so terrible.
It's not
so terrible.
It's not very good. So that is
it's an understatement.
But there's lots of cover versions of Careless Whisper, and they are all like there is lots of covers of Last Christmas. They all suck. They are all terrible, and that's not just us going, we're purist. They're just really bad. They're just really, really bad.
I know, but I would have expected Bananaramas to be less bad.
Especially
because
they were living together. Like he obviously heard them busy with it, and we're going, I'm getting money from that, but that sucks.
Is it worth it?
Is it worth it? So before we run out of time again, we mentioned last week that there is a new series or new interpretation, a new version of Shaka Zulu. It's currently on DSTV Showmax. It's floating around. And we got talking about the 1980s miniseries, which is on Netflix, the original Shaka Zulu with Henry Sele. Now, for anyone growing up in the 80s, there have got to be very few historical personalities, and there aren't any photos of Shaka Zulu that I know of. There are paintings, there are pictures we kind of imagine. But Google image search Shaka Zulu and Henry Sele shows up second. Like he is so Shaka Zulu in our minds, right?
Yes.
Because he did a phenomenal job with it, right? He did a phenomenal job. So the documentary from the 80s was, listen, it's pretty cool seeing on Netflix. I've been watching a little bit of it on and off. In a different lens, you start going, oh, this show's a little bit problematic, because when you look into the backstory of it, it was funded in covert by the SABC as a propaganda piece at the time, right? Because they create this picture of, because people of our era go, oh, Shaka Zulu was ridiculously violent. Is based on what? So based on that miniseries. Or,
Yeah.
no, he was a warrior, but he wasn't. That was, a very specific attempt.
I mean, they made him out to be like a really evil person.
Yeah.
To everyone.
Yeah.
Not just to the enemies he was fighting.
Yeah, to everyone, right? And it was obviously South Africa boycotted at the time, kind of like weren't welcome around the world. But this movie was a way to get around. Oh, we're showing this great story, great warrior. Everyone loves it. And when people started finding, hold on, this was partly funded by the SA government, there was like a major backlash of it. The writer of it, one of the writers, he's like, I don't want to be involved. This was propaganda. I don't know. So as much as it was like such a part of so many of us in the 80s watching it, when you come back later, knowing what we know, you go, oh, so see it, Shaka Zulu, Netflix, watch. Let me go do some research, some reading, what's going on. And I can't be serious about this because I've discovered something. I have discovered something. I've discovered something. I've discovered the sort of thing that you can only get on the show. Because the first thing was I found, right, okay, here's a recap of it. I found this, this is such a intellectual piece, Shaka Zulu and Visual Constructions of History. That's one article I found. I was like, oh, that's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
But then I found, so years later, Shaka Zulu was made in mid-80s, the miniseries. Years later, they made a follow-up, a sequel, 2001. They made a sequel, okay?
Who made a sequel? South Africa?
A sequel was made.
Okay.
Right? Again, they released it both as a movie and as a miniseries. So they bring Henry Sele back out as Shaka Zulu. Still looks glorious. Glorious. Still looks great. Comes out. It's a new study. It was a fictional, part historical. It wasn't based. It was just Shaka Zulu kind of trying to make him this like fictional character and paint a story around him. There you go. We got to have star quality. He needs a wife. You know who they get to play his wife? This is where it's starting to get very bizarre. Grace Jones.
No idea.
Grace Jones. Okay.
You're joking.
This follow-up to Shaka Zulu is called Shaka Zulu Citadel. Okay. So they got Henry Sele, Shaka Zulu. They got Grace Jones playing his wife.
No. So where was this filmed?
Hold on. I'm not done.
Okay.
Because he needs an enemy.
Yes.
Right? He needs the guy who's going to come.
Yes.
So if Grace Jones is your wife, who better to play your enemy than David Hasselhoff?
What?
I'm not lying. I swear to God, this is true.
Wait.
It is called Shaka Zulu
David
Citadel.
Hasselhoff is white.
He's the enemy.
Just going to point the obvious out.
Exactly.
Straight away.
He's the enemy. He's the colonizer.
Okay.
He's the colonizer.
Okay.
Well, the colonizer and friend. So he kind of, So
it wasn't like fighting another, in inverted commas, tribe.
No.
Because that's what the Zulus often did. But okay, so this is the white enemy.
A glimpse into the life of Shaka Zulu, the legendary African warrior, whose dedication and perseverance played a huge part in how he managed to unite his people to stand against the largest empire in the world. Now, I have not watched this movie. I assume that David Hasselhoff has an English accent, which will take it into...
You mean a very bad South African accent, you mean?
Maybe because his character's name is Mungo Prentice.
Oh my God.
I'm not making any of this up. There is so little information on this movie that exists that has made me determined to find it. Okay. It is called Shaka Zulu, The Citadel. Henry Sele is Shaka Zulu, Grace Jones is his wife, and David Hasselhoff. Did you think when you pressed play on the show that we're going to somehow find a way to link David Hasselhoff to Shaka Zulu?
I mean, that is amazing.
I mean,
that is like 6 degrees of separation, just blows up. Out of curiosity, I've clicked on the link of the person who wrote this series. Do you know anything about? His name is Joshua Sinclair. Let me tell you a little bit about Joshua Sinclair, Paulo, to add to the story. Remember, he wrote and I think directed The Citadel.
Yes.
Let me confirm this before
He did.
Yes. Right. But did you read his bioc? Because
I can't click through. Yeah. Let's go.
All right, let me read it
go.
to you. Joshua Sinclair is an eclectic personality. A medical doctor specializing in tropical diseases, he has worked in India with Mother Teresa and Sister Rosa, as well as in various parts of Africa. He is also a professor in comparative theology. Since his acquired professions are obviously non-profit, he has made a living as a best-selling novelist and a film and television writer, actor, producer, and director.
Fun fact, he was awarded a commendation by Zulu Prime Minister Chief Mangosuthu Buthelezi. And that
if
is...
I ever meet Mangosuthu Buthelezi, this is the only question I'm asking him.
That's all I need to know. And that is why we are the top 80s music podcast in Africa, people.
Wow.
This has been That 80s Show. As always, the 80s truth is stranger than anything we can make up. Remember, please, if you got the time, give us a vote. African Podcast and Voiceover Awards, APVA. We'll put the link, That 80s Show SA Facebook page. Everything we spoke about today, we try to put it on the Facebook page when we have time, but we usually forget. we need a producer.
Why do I feel like you've already put the voting link on the Facebook page, but I might be wrong?
I possibly did. It is there, but we'll pin it. Don't people pin
We'll
it?
put it again.
You pin it, you put
We'll
it.
put it again.
You put it there.
We'll pin it, yes.
We'll pin it. That 80 Show SA Facebook page and That 80 Show right here on the internet wherever you are. Thanks for joining me, Dori. Goodbye.